How's it going, everybody? It's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you another Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation episode review. Today's episode is episode 2, The Forest in the Dead of Night. Before I go any further, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified of more videos and reviews just like this one. So, let me see if I can remember correctly. Of course, I remember correctly. Episode 0 was with Sylphie, aka Guardian Fitz. Episode 1, the technical episode 2, was about Rudy still being pretty much heartbroken about what happened with Eris. And we get at the end of it, Rudy getting those old feelings back about adventuring and stuff like that. And, you know, he finally allows himself to cry. And you would think, and I guess one minor thing I can critique and complain about the show is a lot of times we don't know the passage of time, right? We can only assume that time has passed, or we can only assume, how many days and such and hours of such have passed until someone says something. So just one thing there. But apparently I'm going to assume that Rudy has been in this town for at least a month or so, maybe, right? Because I think when he rented that room, I think he rented it for the month. So if he hasn't been there for the month, he's been there for several weeks at least. And the reason why I bring this up is you would think, typical anime, you would think, oh, he got over his depression last episode. Now it's back to Rudy doing Rudy stuff. No. That was just him getting back in the groove of going, what am I doing here? Him actively trying to not die. And it's one of the things I love about this character-driven, wonderful, wonderful show is I keep saying it's so relatable. You can feel yourself in with these characters. And this show drags you in. It makes you care about minor characters. I'm talking characters you only met for one episode. I'm gonna get there. If you haven't watched already, you probably don't know where I'm getting at, but if you have, you probably do know where I'm getting at. But just making you care through I wouldn't even say dialogue, like through actions. Dialogue can count as actions, kind of, because sometimes it's the unsaid things that speak the loudest, right? So the constant, the through line is Rudy's smile, his obvious, all too polite fake smile. Now, Rudy has always been, he errs on the side of being polite so that doesn't piss anybody off, really. Now, sometimes he can be matter of fact. And yeah, Rudy, he's more or less, I don't want to say high and mighty, but he does have his opinions on folks. He does look down on people from time to time, right? And that is brought up in here, but not by the Counter Arrows, the party that he's been occasionally working with. It's brought up by someone else. And I love how they set the scene and they make you think, oh snap, they got to fight these guys, but something completely different. And I appreciate that not everyone in this world is an a-hole, but Rudy is coming across folks that's reminding him of people in his life. Sara reminds him of Eris, and his other character, Soul, reminds him of his dad, and he wonders if his father was the same way when he was younger. Now, Soul and his party, we see in the very beginning, they're talking about, we're going to clear out those, was it ice drakes, snow drakes, ice drakes, blah, 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 blah. And the guy kind of just cuts his eyes at Rudy. I'm like, that can't be good. But what has Rudy been doing? His whole plan is to spread his name out there. So when people go out and they mention, Rudeus, a Greyrat, although most of the time people call him by his nickname, the Quagmire, which you guys know the Quagmire deals with mud and water. That's one of his favorite spells that he does is to do the water and the earth and make a swamp or a quagmire to sink things through. Now, excuse me. Now, he wants, he's saying this might take 6 months to a year to get my name spread out because don't want to spoil anything, but he doesn't really know what's going on with Zenith, right? His dad is still looking for her, so he's hoping that she'll hear his name and she'll know to come north. And that's what he's been doing. He has been doing any type of odd jobs, odd quests by himself, basically. shoveling snow. Actually, in the square, once they get most of it cleared, he goes up to the monument, does his magic, and uses the heat to melt it. We get there's twins there that I don't know if it's supposed to be a reference to something, but they kind of did a little dance and they were face to face. I don't know what that reference is to, but I feel like it was a reference to something, right? A girl hurts herself, he heals her up, and apparently he takes a lot of these jobs without pay. Now, leading up to one of our main events of the evening, there's a double main event here, guys. Almost a triple main event, but one of our main events, Sarah's kind of spying on him, and she says, hey, we're about to take a job because he just finished one. You want to come with us? And I love that a lot of people can see through the bullshit. Cause he's going, when are you guys gonna leave us? She's like, if you don't want to do it, just say no. And he's like, no, I'm sorry, my indecisiveness. Suzanne comes up later and he says, I'll go, right? And they're going, coincidentally, to collect snowdrake scales. They are going to this area known as I wrote this down, the Galga Ruins. Now, Rudy has seen tons of ruins before in the demon country, but here the architecture is so different. It was the first fortress made in the human demon war. And there's even a statue dedicated to, and it's a callback to Kishirisu, the demon queen that gave Rudy his demon eye. And like Rudy's even looking at it, because the rule was they're not going to go past the statue. They just got to be careful. Only snow drakes come there, so they can hide. Nothing that's going to bother them. But the statue is a massive statue, headless, but it's properly curvy and busted. And Rudy's just like, it kind of looks familiar, although it is very much a lie. And I love that he can put the pieces together. While he is emotionally dense, he is still pretty intelligent. Granted, he's coming with 34 years of knowledge from a previous life in the second life. Now, another way of seeing it, Rudy is depressed. He has high anxiety. So when he's in situations like when he's getting yelled at by Soul later, he's still clutching onto Roxy's panties, his treasure that Lilia, the maid, I guess, not really his stepmom, but had made sure to give to him, right? And it's a nervous tick for people to have anxiety, depression. He's trying to put on a brave face, right? Trying to smile through everything. And during this point, he has big issues with abandonment, because during this bout, all of a sudden, all these drakes come out, and he's already, on guard. And he does his magic. You get to see how OP Rudy is in this episode. He makes a massive wall so the others can get out. Then he looks behind him and is like, oh, they're all gone. When he says, everyone, he's like, they're gone. But arrow from Sara hits one in the eye. The Timothy, the leader, he does flamethrower spell. Suzanne and the guy's name is not Patrick, it's Patrice. By the by, I'm thinking about names and spelling. There's a lot of typos. There was one typo in the episode that said it's supposed to be B instead of me. And there's even a typo in the description over here. I'm not going to complain, though. You tend to notice these things since I'm a sub guy, right? Like subtitles. Digression, though. My digression here. I digress. They're fighting these things, and then suddenly the guy from earlier, his name's Soul, green hoodie, he comes in, and they're all working together. Now this dude punches friendly mage Timothy in the face and accuses them of taking their prey, and they're like, what are you talking about? And he said, we boast about it in the guild, because they're the toughest, roughest party, so it's said and they boast about it. And Rudeus is kind of looking like this, and they say, "You know something, Rudy?" He say, "Actually, they did mention about getting a job or something. I just didn't fully pay attention to it. But their job was supposed to be in a cave. They're supposed to be in like in the ruins. Their job was supposed to be in like Ilias Cave. So apparently, the cave connects to the ruins via a tunnel where the Drakes came through. So dude apologizes for sucker punching. I love how Timothy reminds me of Rudy." Without the sadness, without the underlying super sadness. Excuse me. Because he just goes, "Oh, no, you were holding back. Blah, 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 blah. It's okay." And dude shares he's like, "You get one of the Drakes, though, because this is our thing, right?" And they're all going to party. Sara convinces Rudy to party with them. Now, here's the crux of this episode is the party and the drinking. And they're all celebrating. And Suzanne teases Sara about... because Sara goes, "You're very lucky out there." And he's like, "I don't think it's luck. You guys came back to save me." "Yeah, any other party would have left you." And Suzanne's like, "Well, you were the first one to jump up and save him. You seem pretty passionate," teasing her, right? She all blushy. And as a matter of fact, what kind of leads to this blushiness is with his demon eye, because they were going back and forth about him. She's just gazing over the architecture. With his demon eye, he sees that she's going to trip, and he reaches and gets her. And his hand, he does cup a boob. And she says, "Watch your hands." And Rudy says, "I thought I was." And that seems very sincere. We all know our boy Rudy is a little bit of the etchy, but it seemed very sincere. Ever since this entire depression arc, very sincere about that. And then you get Soul with his other buddy Kuzan. I love that I pay attention to these names. He comes up. And he's drunk. And he's like, "I didn't do this properly the first time. I'm sorry about that." And he kind of berates Timothy. He's like, "Look, man, I see you smiling and everything. You don't just take a punch from somebody. Be a man. Sometimes you got to fight." Now, Suzanne already doesn't like him because he hit Timothy. But he looks at Rudy. He's like, Quagmire. He's like, "This guy's cool. I don't like you. You walk around, you look at people like you're higher than mighty than, like no one understands your problems and you've got it worse. And you just have that fake smile." And then Rudy, does the whole Rudy thing where he goes, "I'm sorry. I'll do best to stay out of your sight." Breaks the entire table. And it's just like, you don't even take money. Like, people need things to live. Like, exactly what are you doing with your life? Like, if you don't want to do anything, just hurry up and die, right? He's being an asshole. Even Rudy, it wonders if Paul was like him when he was younger. This is where that connection comes in, right? And even earlier, before he came in, the counter arrows were talking about, "Man, we wish they would just take labyrinths and stuff because those guys are rowdy." And you just see, Sara kind of tells him, "Don't worry about that jerk." But you see Rudy, his hand is in the pocket touching the sacred treasure. And he has just this pain look. And it's just, bleh. And the other interaction between him and Soul, sometime later, and Soul's just like, "So you're picking up scraps again, huh?" Like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm doing it for a reason." And he's like, whatever. And what I got from not just this part, but the part I just spoke on before, as much as look, you can tell people the truth. Telling the truth is fine. You don't have to be an asshole about it. A lot of people think that it's a good humble brag to be like, "I'm brutally honest." No, you can just be honest. You don't have to sugarcoat things, but there are ways of people being assholes that are honest, which is what Soul was doing. And although he's out of line, he has a point. And we know he has a point. It's what Rudy has just been going through. He's just been doing the motions. And I even said last episode, he's kind of looking down on the counter arrows. He's just like, "Oh, why don't you just leave me alone?" He's irritated. He wants to be alone. Back then, he wanted to die. But here, he's not actively seeking to die. He's just kind of just meandering. And so, throughout his meandering here, he's just sitting there, and the counter arrows come out minus 2 members. I think it's funny that now I know everybody's names. They don't have Sara or Mimir, the other mage. and there's a blizzard going on, and I love the sound. The sound direction in this show is great because you see it and hear it before they tell you. That you see with all the snow and stuff outside, and they're like, Mimir and Sarah's dead. When she said that and I saw that, I was like, whoa, what are you serious? This is what I mentioned earlier. How I only known these people for episode and a half or episode and a third. And I'm already like, why'd you kill Sara for? Sara was cool. Now that I know Mimir, I'm like, Mimir wasn't an a-hole. He didn't stand out a lot, but he wasn't an a-hole. But I'm still looking at Sara like, damn. And Patrice goes, actually, we don't know that. We got separated from her because apparently Snow Buffalo couldn't make this up. It's fantasy. Snow Buffalo had attacked them when the blizzard got thick. They were in the forest known as the Trier Forest. So Rudy's hearing all this. I'm like, all right, pardon me. You know what Rudy's about to do. Rudy packs his stuff up and he goes out alone. Now, again, several moments of Rudy being OP in this series. A, giant ass wall. B, kind of doing a cure-all spell to melt the snow. C, the blizzard's going on. Remember when he was a kid and Roxy taught him that spell with the giant storm? He does something like that, but just with wind. And in the area he's in, that blizzard's gone. It's blue sky, still snow, but blue sky up there, so he can make his way to where they last left Sara. And what we have here is one of the best dialogues because he's just talking to himself. Love that we still got 2 voice actors, but he's still talking to himself, right? And he's going because Suzanne said, if they go out, they're going to die too. Timothy's upset, but he's gone out. And hold on, I need to pull this up. He hears Soul's words about what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing all this? Blah 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 blah. And he's like, honestly, what the hell am I doing? Is this supposed to make me feel better? What would make me feel better? Well, finding Sara in my own way, I guess. I don't know if it's just me, but I've had conversations with myself. Like, what are you doing, man? What's the point of this? Is this even going to work? Well, you know what? We're going to do it and we're going to find out, right? It's very relatable, especially when you're going through something. And like I said, I don't know if I said this earlier, but because he felt like Eris turned her back on him, he doesn't want to turn his back on her. So even if she's dead or alive, he's gonna accomplish something. That's what he's gonna do. And so we get Rudy he's coming up. These ice buffalo are asleep. I thought he was throwing a fireball. No, he threw like an earth bomb in the center and just skewer these things and just take them out with ice shots because he can do ice magic, y'all. He did ice magic in the cave against the ice drakes, which I don't know why he would do that. He has a new staff too, but he's massacring these things. Like, they're coming up and he's still calmly talking technically to us, right? Just massive jets of earth just murdering these things. And he comes across a pile of bones. It's not just creatures, it's humans. And he sees Mimir's body. And he has an emotional reaction to seeing his corpse. And again, we're viewers. We're kind of like, we don't really know him that well. We know Sara. We keep seeing Sara. If something happened to Suzanne or Timothy, I'd be pretty upset too. But Mimir and Patrice I didn't even know their names, guys. Remember that? I didn't know their names last week. But I knew the big 3 of their group. And now he's having this emotional reaction. It looks like he wraps him up, what's left of him. It probably looks like it's just a head and a torso. And he burns the bodies. He burns the rest, kind of putting them at ease. And he saw Sara. Sara has a long earring. He saw her earring. And he gets attacked by it. Looks like we get into Evil Dead territory where this tree comes out with the hands and just hits him. and it's dropping ice attacks on him. And he looks and see Sara looks like she's about to be closed in by this weird demon tree. Clothes all ripped to hell. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna save you. He goes in and gets her. Rudy's OP, man. I didn't even know he could just do a flame over shield thing. Like when the branches come around him, poof, burns those and burns the branches so he can grab her. They both jump in the water. Or where they need to look. I hope they address this thing next episode, because you have some wandering mimic tree thing that is also helping buffalo stuff kill people. I don't even think the buffalo eat people. I just think they just rampage and stuff. But the fact that there's a bunch of pile of bones, that's probably from that tree, right? Tree. And he has Sara, and we have another tender moment where obviously she just has a towel over. They both have to take their clothes off. It's cold. They were in water. They don't want hypothermia. And obviously just draped over the boob. She's sitting there in her underwear, and he's healing her leg. And it kind of dawns on her in a minute what position she's in. She's like, I'm gonna get dressed. And he's like, are you okay? Are you sure? Are you sure that leg's okay? Because you're acting kind of weird. She's like, no, I'm cool. And she kind of reached for him and missed. And I'm sitting there like, oh, I know that love interest reach and you try to grab. Oh, I know that. Rudy's still dense. Doesn't get it. But, And so she thanks him. Like, she stops him and she's kind of crying and she painfully thanks him. Remember, she almost died. Her teammate died. And they're going through this harrowing experience. He, like a gentleman, she's wearing his coat, his lone coat. What a gentleman, right? And eventually they meet up with her party. And they think that Rudy just left out and just came back with her. No, he had been left. And Suzanne was pissed because she's like, you could have died. Because she's Suzanne, the caring. And then you get Sara taken up for Rudy. And he said earlier, I wish we could have been friends, even though here's a weird thing. He says, it's not like we were friends or anything, but she stopped being as prickly with me. I wish we could have been friends, and now you have that opportunity to be friends. I towards the end of this, when, they walk him back to his home, because he's like, I need to go home now. And she still has his coat. She mouths something while holding his coat. And if she says, I like you or I love you, man, Rudy gonna have full loving. Are you Tenchi Muyo in here, Rudy? Rudeus, you Tenchi Muyo in here? I see you. And when he finally gets in that room, he, puts the underwear on the shrine. I'm gonna talk about his practices in a minute. But when he puts them back in his little shrine, he's like, I think I can finally have a nice, decent, deep sleep tonight. And he's slowly working, like he allowed himself to grieve the breakup. He allowed himself to finally, get back in the motion of things. And through someone Paul would do that. His dad would totally do what Soul did and just be pretty much an a-hole about it and push him to where he's like, yeah, you're right. And the thing is, this isn't out of his character. This is something that was still born. Yeah, it was born from Eris leaving. And that broke his little heart. Probably his third love. Not even his first or second love. His third love. And, his first experience with becoming a man, so to speak, right? And all of his issues were born from that moment when he was in his first life. And you may mention that in the first episode. Just the anxiety and everything, trying to make it through while trying to wonder, what am I living for? And it's what he's doing right now. He knows the goal is to find his mom, but at the same time, he's going through stuff. And who amongst us has not, you have to do things, especially when you're an adult. You have to do things. And sometimes you don't get enough time to mourn a broken heart or mourn the loss of a loved one or mourn your losses and your defeats. And you have to keep pushing and pushing. And through through his own actions of saving someone, he even says, I feel like she saved me, even though I went and got her. I feel like she saved me. Someone reaching out, not just calling him on his BS, but reaching out and saying, hey man, you're worth something. That's how I'm interpreting this, right? And he even says that. And Timothy tearfully takes his hand, and Timothy is crying and tells him, however I can pay you back, you name it, I will do it for you. And Rudy's just like, no, you guys done a lot for me. And we hear the voiceover. It's not his fantasy bullshitting. He's literally says, no, I actually truly believe that they've done a lot for me. And they have. These people try to get you to open up when you're on your way there. They gave you a party to hang out with pretty decent people. Like, that could have gone south so many different ways, especially in this world, right? And they showed you camaraderie. They showed you friendship. These people didn't leave you to die. You saved their lives. They saved your lives. You saved their lives. We done this back and forth, which is funny because Sarah's saying that she came back for Rudy because he had saved her with the bears from last episode. It's funny because now I think she kind of owes him one, right? And she might pay him back. But yes. While the animation for the action, the ice drakes and the demon tree thing, and I won't count the snow buffaloes, but the demon tree thing and ice drakes, while that stuff is fantastic, the heart and the core of what makes this episode amazing, makes this episode great, is just the characters and the people parts, man. Just understanding and relating to a character that's going through a depression from a broken heart, and just trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Being appreciative and finding ways to move forward thanks to the opportunities and actions of those around him. Have you ever helped someone out and then you're like, man, I actually really needed that. This put things in perspective for me. And I hope it did put things in perspective for Rudy. And I love that he actually mourned for Mimir. I really, really appreciated that. That's good. Him trying to, him actually making connections is great. I'm going to laugh if he joins Counter Arrows or if he makes a new group out of Counter Arrows. They are one mage down, Rudy. They are one mage down. So who knows, man? And Soul is kind of right. You do need money so you can eat and survive. For me, I knew I was going to give this episode a 5 out of 5 just from the fact that I was shocked and appalled when I heard two minor characters had been killed off. And I'm like, what? No, not them. You hooked me. You hooked me in, hook, line, and sinker. You got me. 5 out of 5 from me. Love this series. Great episode. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. How did you feel about this episode? I'm loving seeing Rudy being OP, right? He's OP, yet he's vulnerable. That is fun to see. A super powerful character that still has weaknesses, whether it be emotional or physical, because he couldn't fight a whole cavern full of drakes by himself. I mean, if you know anything about D&D, you should look up Drake's stat block. You can't really fight those by yourself. But I digress. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified of more videos like this. A great Sunday with a great Jobless Reincarnation. So, guys, thank you for taking some time out to listen to me talk about this wonderful show. Please be good, be blessed. Take care of yourselves. Be good to yourselves, be good to others. Be safe out there. Either way it goes, don't be a jerk. All right? Remember, there are people out there that care about you. Whether you're feeling like Rudy or whether you're feeling even lower than that, right? Just, man, depression and anxiety and getting through those things is such a key part of this show. It is just mental health is all over this show. So if you're ever feeling low, make sure you reach out to somebody. Just talk to someone. All right. There's someone out there that would rather talk to you today than to mourn you and miss you tomorrow. I guarantee that you are loved. All right. Well, with that being said, guys, I'm out of here. I'll definitely see you next time.